The year is 1050 AD. You live in the largest city in North America, larger than London, larger than Paris. A metropolis of 20,000 people with monumental architecture, complex social hierarchies, and trade networks spanning a continent. And almost nobody today knows it existed. Welcome to Cahokia. Located in what's now Illinois, just across the Mississippi River from modern St. Louis, this is the center of the Mississippian culture, the most sophisticated civilization north of Mexico before European contact. But here's what makes Cahokia extraordinary. It wasn't supposed to exist. According to old stereotypes about pre-Columbian North America, native peoples were all nomadic hunter-gatherers living in teepees. No cities, no agriculture, no monumental architecture. Cahokia destroys that myth completely. Behind you rises Monks Mound, the largest earthen pyramid in North America. It's 100 feet tall, covers 14 acres at its base, and required the movement of 22 million cubic feet of soil. All carried in baskets. No wheels, no draft animals. Just human labor, organization, and ambition. The mound supports a massive wooden temple on top where the paramount chief lives and conducts ceremonies. From there, he can see the entire city spreading in all directions. Residential neighborhoods, craft workshops, smaller mounds, ceremonial plazas, defensive Palisade Walls. This is urban civilization. This is what North America achieved entirely independently of European or Asian influence. You wake in your thatched roof house, part of a neighborhood clustered around a plaza. The sun rises over the Mississippi River, painting the sky orange and pink. Smoke rises from hundreds of cooking fires. The city is waking up. Today is a special day, the autumn equinox. There will be ceremonies at the Great Plaza, astronomical observations at the Woodhenge Circle, feasting, games, political displays. The entire city will gather. But first you have morning tasks, wood to gather, food to prepare. The rhythms of daily life in a civilization that, within 200 years, will mysteriously collapse and be abandoned. Leaving behind only mounds and questions, so many questions. Monks Mound dominates Cahokia, not just physically but symbolically. It represents power, organization, religious authority, and the ability to mobilize thousands of workers for a single monumental purpose. Construction took decades, maybe a century. Workers carried soil in baskets from borrow pits. You can still see the depressions where they dug. They built it in stages, creating terraces, stabilizing layers, constructing retaining walls. The result is staggering. The mound rises in 4 terraces to a flat summit platform 100 feet above the surrounding plain. The temple on top, a massive wooden structure with a thatched roof, can be seen for miles. Only elite can access the summit. The paramount chief lives there. Priests conduct ceremonies. Important visitors are received. It's the political and religious center of a civilization that controls territory from the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast through trade, tribute, and influence. You're not elite. You're a commoner. A skilled potter, actually. But even from ground level, the mound is awe-inspiring. You've lived here your entire life, and it still impresses you. This morning, priests are climbing the stairway for dawn observations. Cahokian astronomy is sophisticated. They track solstices, equinoxes, lunar cycles. The Woodhenge Circle, a ring of wooden posts, functions as a calendar, marking the sun's position throughout the year. Religion permeates everything here. The cosmos is understood through careful observation. The chief is semi-divine, mediating between humans and the spirit world. Ceremonies ensure good harvests, successful hunts, victory over enemies. Around the mound's base, smaller elite residences cluster. These aren't ordinary houses. They're larger, better constructed, positioned to demonstrate proximity to power. Status in Cahokia is visible in where you live, how close to the paramount chief. You notice construction continuing on the eastern side. The mound is never truly finished. Each generation adds layers, reinforces terraces, rebuilds the summit temple. It's a living monument, constantly renewed. Compare this to Europe in 1050 AD. London has maybe 15,000 people, Paris 20,000. Cahokia matches them. But European chroniclers, arriving 500 years later, will see only abandoned mounds and assume native peoples never built cities. They'll be catastrophically wrong. The evidence is literally mountainous. The Great Plaza is Cahokia's civic heart. A massive rectangular space, 50 acres, deliberately leveled and maintained. This is where the city gathers for ceremonies, games, markets, political assemblies. Urban planning here is sophisticated. The plaza is oriented north-south. Monks Mound dominates the northern end. Smaller mounds surround the plaza, each with specific functions. Some support elite residences, others are temples, some are burial mounds for important leaders. The city is organized into neighborhoods, each with its own plaza and mounds. But this central plaza is where everyone comes together. Social hierarchies are visible but not totally rigid. Elites occupy the best viewing positions. Commoners fill the rest. But everyone participates. You arrive with your family. Thousands are already here. The noise is incredible, conversations in multiple languages and dialects. Cahokia is cosmopolitan. Trade brings people from across the continent. Some stay, intermarry, become Cahokian. Food vendors are setting up, offering corn cakes, roasted venison, fish from the Mississippi River, berries, nuts. This isn't just ceremony. It's also a market, a social event, a chance to see and be seen. Children run and play. You notice the chunky courts being prepared, long, smooth lanes where the sacred game is played. Chunky involves rolling a stone disc and throwing spears to land near where it stops. It's part sport, part gambling, part religious ritual. Musicians tune instruments, drums, flutes, rattles. Dancers prepare costumes. The ceremony will involve elaborate performances reenacting creation myths, honoring ancestors, celebrating the harvest. You see potters like yourself displaying wares. Cahokian pottery is distinctive, shell-tempered, with characteristic designs. Some vessels are purely functional, others are ceremonial, highly decorated, used only for special occasions. The social stratification is obvious. Elites wear elaborate clothing, feather cloaks, copper jewelry, shell beads, carefully woven textiles. They carry themselves with authority. Commoners dress more simply but still take pride in appearance. This gathering represents Cahokia's power. The ability to feed, house, and organize 20,000 people requires surplus agriculture, effective administration, shared belief systems. This isn't a village. This is a state-level society, and in 150 years it will be abandoned. The plaza will grow over. The mounds will erode. The memory will fade.
Cahokia exists because of corn, specifically a productive variety of maize that arrived from Mesoamerica centuries ago and was adapted to the Mississippi River Valley's climate. The fields stretch for miles around the city. Corn is the staple, providing most calories. But Cahokians also grow beans, squash, sunflowers, goosefoot, little barley. The Three Sisters agricultural system, corn, beans, squash planted together, is practiced here. The Mississippi River floodplain is incredibly fertile. Annual floods deposit nutrient-rich silt. Cahokian farmers have learned to work with the river's rhythms, planting after floods recede, harvesting before the next cycle begins. You're not a farmer, you're a potter, but you understand agriculture's importance. Without surplus food, there's no city. No monumental architecture, no specialized craftspeople like yourself. Everyone would be subsistence farming. The surplus here is substantial, enough to feed 20,000 urban residents plus support the elite who don't farm at all. Enough to trade with distant communities. Enough to stockpile for lean years. Storage is sophisticated. Large pits lined with grass store dried corn. Raised granaries protect from rodents and moisture. Accounting systems, probably using knotted strings or marked sticks. Track reserves. But this system has vulnerabilities. The population has grown rapidly, maybe too rapidly. Deforestation around Cahokia is severe. All those wooden buildings and palisades require timber. Soil erosion is increasing. Climate is shifting too. The medieval warm period, which made agriculture easier, is starting to end. Cooler temperatures will stress the corn crops. Unpredictable weather will challenge farmers. These problems aren't obvious in 1050 AD. The city is thriving. You watch farmers working, mostly women, as is traditional. They use digging sticks and hoes. Harvest is communal, with neighbors helping each other. The work is hard but bearable. Children help, learning farming skills they'll need as adults. Even city dwellers like you assist during planting and harvest. Without this agricultural foundation, Cahokia would be impossible, and when this foundation weakens, the city will fall.
Your pottery workshop is in a neighborhood that specializes in craft production. Urban planning in Cahokia includes economic zoning. Certain areas focus on specific crafts. You work with clay from the riverbanks, tempered with crushed mussel shells, a technique that makes vessels stronger and more resistant to thermal shock. The pottery you produce includes storage jars, cooking pots, serving bowls, and ceremonial vessels. The best pieces go to the elite. You've been commissioned to create a special jar for the equinox ceremony, decorated with symbols representing the upper world, the earth, and the underworld. Mississippian cosmology is complex, and elite pottery reflects that sophistication. Your neighbors include shell carvers. They work with marine shells traded from the Gulf Coast, whelks and conchs that travel 1,000 miles to reach Cahokia. These are carved into beads, gorgets, ceremonial breastplates, and other prestige items. The skill required is immense. Shell is hard, brittle, difficult to work. Master carvers use stone tools and sand abrasives to slowly create intricate designs. Chunky players, birds, serpents, geometric patterns. Copper workers occupy another workshop. Copper comes from the Great Lakes region, again through extensive trade networks. It's cold hammered into sheets, then formed into ornaments, ear spools, headdress decorations, emblems of status. Cahokia doesn't have metallurgy in the old world sense, no smelting or alloying. But the copper work is still impressive. Thin sheets are embossed with designs. Some pieces incorporate repoussé, hammering from the back to create raised patterns. Textile production happens in most households. Women weave fabrics from plant fibers and animal hair. The finest textiles incorporate feathers, creating iridescent cloaks that shimmer in sunlight. These are reserved for the paramount chief and highest elites. Stone tool production continues even though Cahokians have copper. Chipped stone blades, arrowheads, scrapers, these are still essential for daily tasks. Specialized knappers produce standardized tools traded throughout the region. What's remarkable is the specialization. In a village, everyone does everything. In Cahokia, you can be a full-time potter because farmers produce enough surplus to support you. This specialization creates better goods, which enhances trade, which brings more wealth to Cahokia. It's a positive feedback loop. As long as agriculture remains productive, as long as trade networks stay intact, as long as the system holds together. When it breaks, it will break suddenly, and Cahokia's craftspeople will scatter, taking their skills to smaller communities across the Mississippian world.
Cahokia is the hub of a trade network spanning North America, from the Great Lakes to the Gulf Coast. From the Appalachian Mountains to the Great Plains, goods and ideas flow through this city. You see it in the materials around you. Marine shells from Florida and the Gulf Coast, 1,000 miles away. Copper from Lake Superior, 800 miles north. Mica from the Appalachian Mountains, 600 miles east. Obsidian from Yellowstone, 1,800 miles west. These aren't random acquisitions. These are organized trade expeditions. Cahokian merchants travel, by canoe on rivers, by foot on trails, to distant regions. They establish relationships with other communities. They negotiate exchanges. What does Cahokia export? Agricultural surplus, dried corn, preserved fish, specialized crafts, high-quality pottery, worked shell ornaments, and something less tangible, participation in the Cahokian cultural sphere. Because Cahokia isn't just a city, it's a religious and cultural center, the pilgrimage site for the Mississippian world. Communities across the eastern woodlands adopt Cahokian styles in pottery, mound construction, plaza layouts. They're emulating the metropolis. The Mississippi River is the highway. You watch canoes arriving, some from hundreds of miles away. They bring trade goods, tribute, pilgrims coming for the equinox ceremony. The river also provides food. Fishing is important. Mussels from the river provide both food and shells for pottery tempering. Trade isn't just economic, it's diplomatic. Marriages between Cahokian elites and leaders from distant communities create alliances. There's a darker side too. Cahokia's power isn't purely consensual. The Palisade Walls suggest defensive concerns. The trade network is fragile. When the city begins to decline, whether from environmental problems or political instability, the network will fragment. But in 1050 AD, Cahokia is at its peak, the center of the Mississippian world, a true metropolis by any definition.
The Woodhenge, a circle of tall cedar posts, stands west of Monks Mound. It's Cahokia's astronomical observatory, calendar system, and ceremonial space all in one. The circle contains 48 posts originally, though some configurations had more or fewer. They're arranged precisely to mark solar positions throughout the year. Standing at the center, priests can sight along specific posts to track sunrise positions at solstices and equinoxes. Today, the autumn equinox, the sun rises exactly aligned with a specific post when viewed from the center. This predictability is crucial. It validates the priest's knowledge. It confirms the cosmic order. It assures the population that the leaders understand the universe's workings. You've come to observe. Hundreds of others are here too. The paramount chief and high priest stand at the center. They wear elaborate regalia, Feather cloaks, copper headdresses, shell gorgets. They represent the connection between earth and sky, human and divine. As the sun appears on the horizon, it aligns perfectly with the designated post. The crowd erupts in celebration. Drums pound, flutes play, people chant and dance. This astronomical knowledge is sophisticated. Cahokian priests track not just solar events but lunar cycles. They understand eclipse patterns. They can predict seasonal changes with remarkable accuracy. Compare this to European stereotypes about primitive native peoples. Cahokians are conducting astronomical observations as sophisticated as those in medieval monasteries. They're building monumental structures aligned to celestial events. The woodhenge serves practical purposes too. Agriculture depends on knowing when to plant and harvest. Knowledge of the heavens demonstrates elite legitimacy. The chief who conducts ceremonies at precisely the right moment is validated by cosmic forces. There's evidence Cahokia had multiple woodhenges over time, rebuilt in slightly different configurations. Archaeology has revealed several circular patterns. Each generation renewed this tradition. After the ceremony, the day's other events will begin: games, feasting, political speeches. But the woodhenge observation is the sacred climax. Everything else flows from this. In a few hours, you'll return to daily life. But this moment, witnessing the cosmic order, this is what makes Cahokia more than just a city. It's a civilization.
The feast begins after the astronomical ceremony. This is when Cahokia's agricultural surplus becomes visible and shared, at least partially, across social classes. Massive quantities of food have been prepared. Corn in every form, roasted ears, corn cakes, hominy, corn soup, beans and squash, venison from white-tailed deer, turkey, fish from the Mississippi, waterfowl, nuts, berries, seasonal vegetables. The elite eat separately, serve the finest portions, but commoners like you still feast well. This redistribution of food is part of the social contract. The elite control resources, but they must demonstrate generosity. Stinginess would undermine their authority. You sit with your family and neighbors. The pottery bowl you brought contains stew, corn, beans, dried fish, flavored with herbs. Someone passes roasted turkey. Children run between groups, playing games, stealing bites of food. The atmosphere is festive. Musicians perform. Dancers in elaborate costumes reenact creation stories. The chunky games continue. You watch skilled players roll stone discs and hurl spears with remarkable precision. Bets are placed. Winners celebrate. Losers vow revenge in the next round. Social dynamics play out during the feast. Important families display their status through generous distributions. Young men and women flirt under the watchful eyes of elders. Political alliances are reinforced through shared meals and gift exchanges. You notice the paramount chief distributing gifts from the elevated platform. Copper ornaments, shell gorgets, finely woven textiles. These go to loyal subordinates, visiting dignitaries, successful warriors. This is how hierarchy is maintained, through calculated generosity. The feast also reveals inequality. The elite portions are massive, the finest cuts of meat, exotic foods from distant trade networks. While commoners eat well today, there's no illusion of equality. Some anthropologists will later debate whether Cahokia was a chiefdom or an early state. The complexity suggests state-level organization, centralized authority, social stratification, tribute collection, specialized labor. But it's also more flexible than European feudalism. Social mobility exists. Skilled craftspeople can achieve status. Successful warriors can be rewarded. The system isn't rigidly hereditary. As afternoon progresses, the feast continues. Elders tell stories. Children listen wide-eyed to tales of culture heroes, cosmic battles, the origins of the mounds. This is oral history, passed down through generations. You feel connected to something larger. Your ancestors helped build this city. Your children will grow up here. Cahokia feels permanent, eternal. But within 150 years, it will be abandoned. The feasts will stop. The stories will scatter with the dispersed population, and the mounds will stand silent, their meanings forgotten. As evening approaches, you walk along the interior of the Palisade Wall. This massive fortification surrounds the central city, over 2 miles of tall wooden logs set in trenches, with watchtowers at intervals. The palisade tells a story Cahokians don't advertise. They have enemies. Why build such elaborate defenses if you're uncontested? The wall required enormous labor. Trees felled, logs transported, trenches dug, posts erected. It's been rebuilt multiple times, suggesting ongoing threats. Who are the enemies? Possibly rival chiefdoms competing for regional dominance, or subordinate communities resisting Cahokian control, or external groups raiding for resources and prestige. Evidence of warfare in the Mississippian world is clear. Mass graves showing violent deaths, fortified settlements, weapons and burials. But Cahokians downplay this in public ceremonies, preferring to emphasize cosmic order and elite legitimacy. The palisade also serves symbolic purposes. It defines who's inside the sacred city and who's outside. It creates a physical and conceptual boundary. Guards patrol the watchtowers. They're not full-time soldiers. Cahokia doesn't have a standing army, but able-bodied men serve rotation duty, watching for threats, controlling entry and exit, enforcing elite authority. You notice construction on the western section. The wall is being reinforced. Someone expects trouble. Rumors circulate. A subordinate community to the south refused tribute. There might be a punitive expedition, or possibly just negotiations. Violence is a tool. Inside the palisade, Cahokia feels secure. Outside, the world is more uncertain. Small farming communities dot the surrounding countryside. Some are clearly Cahokian. The palisade represents both strength and vulnerability. Population pressure is one issue. The nearby forests are depleted. Game is scarce. Fields extend far from the city. Social tensions exist too. Not everyone benefits equally from Cahokia's prosperity. The elite live lavishly while commoners work hard. Resentment simmers. When Cahokia eventually declines, the palisade will fall. But tonight, the wall stands strong. The guards watch. The city sleeps, believing itself eternal.
Night falls over Cahokia. Fires burn in thousands of houses. The mounds loom dark against the stars. You settle into sleep, your family around you, secure in the belief that this city is permanent. But it isn't. By 1200 AD, just 150 years from now, Cahokia's population will have dropped dramatically. The Great Plaza will be less crowded. Many neighborhoods will be abandoned. The palisade will fall into disrepair. By 1350 AD, Cahokia will be completely abandoned. The wooden buildings will rot. The mounds will erode and grass over. The Mississippi River will shift course, altering the landscape. And for centuries, the memory of this great metropolis will fade. What causes the collapse? Archaeologists still debate. Environmental degradation is a leading theory. Deforestation, soil erosion, overhunting. The agricultural system couldn't support the population indefinitely. Climate change played a role too. The medieval warm period ended. Cooler temperatures stressed corn crops. Unpredictable weather made farming riskier. Food shortages would have triggered social stress. Political instability likely contributed. The centralized authority that built the mounds required constant reinforcement. If that system faltered, through weak leadership or loss of legitimacy, the city would fracture. External pressures existed. Rival chiefdoms grew stronger. Or maybe the population made a choice. Perhaps people simply left, returning to smaller communities where life was easier. Whatever the causes, Cahokia ended. The population dispersed across the Mississippian world. The mound building tradition continued elsewhere, but never again at this scale. For centuries, European colonists saw the mounds and couldn't believe native peoples built them. They invented theories, lost tribes of Israel, Welsh explorers, ancient Vikings, anything but acknowledging indigenous engineering. Archaeology eventually proved the truth. Cahokia was built by ancestors of modern Native American groups. Modern excavation has revealed the city's sophistication, urban planning, astronomical knowledge, a population larger than medieval London. Cahokia challenges every stereotype. It proves that sophisticated civilization arose here independently, without Old World influence. The mounds still stand, now protected as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Monks Mound remains the largest earthen pyramid north of Mexico. Visitors climb its slopes and see the same view you saw in 1050 AD. You didn't know you were living in a doomed city. Nobody does. You thought Cahokia was eternal, but nothing is eternal. Not empires, not cities, not civilizations. Only the mounds remain. Silent, mysterious, magnificent. Testaments to what North America achieved before the world forgot. Stay informed. Stay rational.